everybody. We have a special Friday stream because there was an explosion of stories yesterday, and I should really not go to screenings in the middle of the day during the week. Well, I don't know. I just filmed my 65 review, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So maybe I should, but it really messes up my week, my schedule. I saw 3 movies this week. I saw Scream 6 on Tuesday, John Wick 4 on Wednesday, and then on yesterday I saw 65. So it really kind of made for a crazy week. And then next week I'm seeing Shazam on Tuesday, and the embargo lifts on Wednesday. Dancing Dog 60, thank you for gifting the memberships. Generous as usual. So kind of you. And then we have great stories today. Great stories. I'm going to try and do my Scream spoiler review tomorrow. No Scream spoilers. Don't ruin it. And then, of course, Sunday is a nuts day. Sunday is Movie Math, The Last of Us, and then the Little Mermaid trailer is dropping, which I'll be I was going to live tweet the Oscars, but not anymore, because I'm going to be doing the Little Mermaid trailer and doing a breakdown. Totally ruined my Oscar party. I was going to go and watch the Oscars with friends, and they ordered a chocolate Oscar, and I had to cancel. But that's dems to breaks, man. Dems to breaks. But I think the Little Mermaid trailer is going to totally blow everything else out of the water, and it really sucks for everybody else. No one's going to talk about anything else but the Little Mermaid on Sunday night. All right, so we have some really great stories to go over today. Hey, Mateo. Let's see here. I know some of you are like, just do your party. No. The Little Mermaid's too big a deal. We've been waiting for this for so long. That's just covering entertainment news. Sometimes you got to work on a holiday. I haven't watched the Super Bowl in years. What's the Super Bowl? This year, I was still able to be a part of it a little bit because I watched the games leading up to the Super Bowl. So that kind of allowed me to still kind of like be part of the fun. But that's fine. I'm so glad that you guys are looking forward to my Little Mermaid coverage. That makes it all worth it. So I'm excited. We're going to have a good time. All right, so let's get started. We got some great stories today. Great stories. What a day. Let's see here. Buck's Basement. Please try to keep your comments to whatever we're discussing until the end of the stream. And then there's a 10-minute period where you can ask me anything that you would like. Jojo Bell, that looks just like Halle Bailey as Ariel, those emojis. Oh, I love it. I feel like I like the modesty of the bra they've given her, but it also looks like that's her skin peeling off. So I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it. It's a little bit weird. But Buck's Basement, I did see the Jennifer Lawrence trailer yesterday. I thought that Jennifer Lawrence was very funny in it, and I thought it was great that she was, going for it. But it did seem like her career was in a little bit of trouble, that's the movie that she signed on for. And I do agree that if you were to reverse the genders, there would be some serious issues. I see way too many issues of inappropriate behavior between adult women and underage teenagers to kind of make funny of it, to make fun. I think they didn't make it clear that he was of age. So anyway, that's my problem with I think the Jennifer, we'll see what it does for her career. All right, so let's get started. All right, hold on. Story number 1. Boop. Oh, look, I covered up the headline. All right, but anyway, he's directing it. Now, I also said, hey, man, I wonder how this is going to get confirmed because Tom King, hey, Bison Poop, gifted 10 memberships. All right, so anyway, Tom King in an interview said that James Gunn is not only writing Superman Legacy, but he's going to direct it. And everybody in the Scoop community, everybody in Hollywood knows that he's directing it. It's on the frickin' casting call that's gone out because they're getting ready to film in early 2024. And I'll tell you right now, they're looking for Superman and Lois between 20 and 30. Now, of course, they could maybe fall in love with an actor outside that range, but that's the target that they're looking for. So everybody knows this. but it hasn't been discussed. I think it's a combination of trying to be respectful of the studio breaking their own story. I heard it on January 17th and ran a poll. That was my way of getting around it. I don't run polls for no reason. If I run a poll, it's because I have I have a reason. And then also because James Gunn likes to go around and discredit things, right? Although I think he's stepped back from that a little bit because it is getting him into a little bit of trouble. Like, for instance, what the heck is he going to do today, right? I'll put my poll up if you want to see it. I got the poll. Hold on. Here it is. See, it says January 17th. That's the way everybody voted. We'll talk about that in a moment. So it's like when this comes out, James Gunn has set a precedent where he can't ignore it because he goes around confirming and negating stories, right? So I was wondering, will James Gunn prove it? He'll say, yes, it's true on Twitter. Will he put a tweet out? Will the trades confirm it? And they might still, but I don't think so based on the way things are going. Or will they just ignore it and be like, hey, man, we're just going to keep going and announce it the way that we had planned? A little bit like what happened with poor Mortal Kombat, right? Where like it came out, everybody talked about it. They were like, Mortal Kombat 12, what did you just say, Zazzy? And then everybody just was like, oh, let's just not talk about it and pretend that didn't happen. So because the reason, and I think that's what they're going to do, because they deleted the interview where Tom King said it. Tom King called up that poor YouTube channel and said, you got to take it down, man. I wasn't supposed to say that. That's incredible. That's incredible. So, I would honestly say, like, I don't know. I can see why that channel tried to sneak it out and just be like, oh, but then they had to take it down. So it's Tom King, Somebody was, oh yeah, Keith's like, who's Tom King? Because somebody even tweeted me back and said, maybe Tom King doesn't know Grace. Tom King definitely knows. And also, you can't take down all the people who copied the video and ran it on Twitter, which I retweeted. Tom King is a comic book writer. He has, I think comic book fans have a love-hate relationship with him, myself included. I sometimes think his stuff's crap, but I read every single one of his comics pretty much, and it's always at the top of my stack. But, he was supposed to do with Ava DuVernay. He was supposed to do that New Gods movie, remember? And we were all like, why would anyone give Tom King a movie or Ava DuVernay a movie? And then, of course, it never happened. And Tom King, for some reason, got himself into James Gunn's writer's room for DC Studios, which was a mistake. And as you can see, it's already a mistake, and that this guy, it's so unprofessional to talk about that and to leak somebody else. It's not even, Tom King didn't even leak his own news. He leaked somebody else's news. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. Like, and the fact that he would, say that. It's like, why would you do that? It's like, I'm surprised, the more DC changes, the more it stays the same. And I've said before that James Gunn is just like a poor man Zack Snyder for them, like a nerdier Zack Snyder. And, and they're still making huge mistakes over there. It's still like, what's that, what's the UK music when like the Benny Hill? They should play like the Benny Hill music over there. I'd be like, no. You're just like, what's going on over there, man? All right, so let's talk about this, because even though they deleted the interview, I can tell you that everybody talks about it in Hollywood. Everybody knows. So let's just talk about it. And then when they officially confirm it at some point, then I'll make a video. I'm glad actually they didn't totally confirm it, because I don't have time today to make a video. So I was like, please don't announce this officially today. All right, so now here's the thing. I think now somebody said, I said he might want to try and ease the blow. And some people were like, why is it a blow, Grace? Why do you always have to be negative about James Gunn? Well, I'll tell you. I think the point is not so much that I got to tell you, I feel maybe James Gunn can pull it off. I wouldn't bet money on him pulling it off. I wouldn't have personally given him the gig, but I think there is a chance he could do it. All right? The biggest problem is that so far, the only person that James Gunn has hired is himself. And I saw somebody say, oh, well, James Gunn's probably saving them money by writing everything and directing everything himself. But that's not true. He gets paid for every single gig. So every time that James Gunn hires himself, he is in effect giving himself millions of dollars. And so the optics on that are not great, Like, I feel like it's like not cool, right? It's like he's giving himself a lot of money. So that's an interesting choice. And then also, he's doing a lot of deep cuts. Tom King in this interview, before it was deleted, said that James Gunn is a super nerd. And I think that's true. We talked about that the other day. And I think that that's going to endear him to a lot of fans. But I think it's going to make it hard for him to sell his ideas to the normies. The normies, as we like to say. Who I think are on the edge as it is. So I don't know if it's good to be a super nerd, quite frankly, to adapt this stuff. Certainly not at the scale that James Gunn needs to deliver. Like if James Gunn was making content for HBO Max, I'd probably say that was a good space for him. Like Peacemaker. Although, and Peacemaker, whatever the bar is for HBO Max, at least Peacemaker met that, which we know is low, but still it was the best. So I think maybe that's a better space for him. But it's very hard to be able to deliver 4-quadrant movies. And I still think that James Gunn is not totally recovered from his scandal. Let's see how Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 does. But he's yet to deliver a huge hit post that scandal. So, it's a little bit like with the Will Smith situation where, I think some people are willing to forgive and people are like, oh, it was an unfortunate one-time incident or there was at one time in this case. But, I think people feel, are we defined by our mistakes? And I think the jury's still out on that for both those individuals. I don't know if Will Smith can come back. I don't know if James Gunn can come back. But I'll tell you this, as James Gunn tries to come back, he is making a tremendous amount of money. Hey, and I can't blame him. I think Warner Brothers let him do it. And it's like, at the very least, James Gunn is crazy like a fox or like a rocket raccoon. He has really managed to really, at the very least, walk away from his scandal, a very wealthy individual, and he has maintained, at the very least, a small fan base, but very loyal, extremely loyal. All right, so Tom King did this interview, and he revealed what everybody, and I did like the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, but nobody watched it, interestingly enough. Hey, WeSee just joined and gifted 10 memberships. You're a sweetheart. But, Disney Plus is having problems overall. Nobody's watching any of their content. Mandalorian has the level of appeal of a Bad Batch season, and that's low, which is sad because the content is so good for both. But yeah, so I don't know what's going on over there. I think we're going to talk about Bob Iger in a moment, but I've never seen Disney in such a precarious situation in my life. All right, so anyway, Tom King did this interview, and he revealed what all of Hollywood already knows, and that's that James Gunn is writing and directing Superman Legacy. And again, as I said, it's filming early 2024, and that Superman and Lois are going to be in the 20 to 30 year range. Okay? Now, I will say that to date, James Gunn is like the least Superman person in all of Hollywood. Like, he is the antithesis of Superman, in my opinion, which is why he did Brightburn, which I really hated, as you know. I felt Brightburn was a dangerous film, in fact. I don't want to even discuss it still to this day. But some people liked it, but the thing did crash and burn. It was a horrible flop. Jason Acker says, do you think that most of what Gunn wants to do story-wise is more obscure than Iron Man? But it's not just the character, it's the approach, Jason. Jon Favreau's approach to Iron Man was extremely mainstream. And he attached him to an actor who had the same problems. So it was like echoing that. I think that James Gunn continues to be a taste issue. Even when James Gunn tells a very sweet story, it still has fart and human fluid jokes all over it. And I do not want that in a Superman movie. I hope that he trusts somebody with a red pen to go in there and take out his, the things that he just can't quit. Be like, I know you had to write it in there, James, but I had to also then come in and delete it. Is that a Superman emoji? Where'd that come from, John? That looks great. And I gotta tell you, sometimes I think his jokes are funny, but they don't belong in a Superman movie. Anthony says, I'm invested into Marvel and there's a payoff. I'm invested in DC and it was drama than all this. But Snyderverse, at least I saw a path. Well, there's supposed to be a path with this James Gunn stuff, which I told you the other day, although it's a very deep cut. Again, and I think most people are going to be like, what? I don't want to go there. All right, so anyway, they were just the poll results of what I took in January. All right, so this was before he even announced his slate. I heard he was going to direct, and I was like, I wonder if he's going to announce with his slate that he's directing, and he didn't. He didn't do it because I think he realized that the optics on it are not great. So anyway, so 18% said it was a great idea. 35% said, I'm open to it. 29%, I think that says, hold on, it's very small. Yeah, 29% says seems sketchy, but maybe. And then 17% said infuriating. So, it's about like what, 50-50 kind of about? And that's what I would say. Okay, I will do an updated poll for Frosty Salt. Let me put one in for you guys. How do you feel about James Gunn directing Superman Legacy? Do my reporter voice. All right, so let's see here. Love it. And we'll do, I'm open to it. That's me. That's me, to be honest with you. Then I think it's a bad idea. I think it's a bad idea. And then the fourth one is heck no. All right, there you go. You may vote. I think it would be much better for him, because he's supposed to be heading up the company, if he were to write it and have someone else direct. How is he going to be overseeing all these DC projects if he's directing this movie? It's a lot of work to direct a 4-quadrant film. It takes up a tremendous amount of your time. And he's going to be overseeing all of these projects? Doesn't seem to make any sense to me. But he's going for it. He's going for it. Now, I think there are glimmers of brilliance in some of his recent work. I thought the stuff they did with Peacemaker and Rick Flag was brilliant. From their dialogue to their ideologies to the way they had the reflection in the helmet. I was like, that is a great shot. That is a great shot. And then I did think the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special was good. I thought it had a lot of heart. I didn't think it was at all like Superman, but it was good. Mika says, do you know if Charles Roven is still involved in DC films? I think he's doing like the other outside stuff. I think he might be a name only. Cool Guy 567 says he might be able to write a sassy Lois. I don't know, but I don't want to. I mean, Gamora, he's done a little bit better with the female characters recently, to be fair. But for the most part, I think he really dropped the ball with all of his female characters. Let's see here. Blick says, I feel like he doesn't fit the style of a Superman. Yeah, I'm really nervous. He'd have to totally reinvent himself, and he has not yet to do that. Maruna says, I think Gunn took We Need Just One Head in One Direction in DC a bit too literal. That's pretty funny. And B Weeb says, who's going to tell him no? Zazie, that's who. Zazie's supposed to say no, or they should have talked to him before they hired him and said, what do you plan to do? And he said, all of it. They'd be like, we'll call you. Bye. All right, so anyway, who's running DC? And why is he giving himself all the choice gigs? I think it's bizarre. I think it's not great. He's taking all the paychecks, and I don't understand how he could be overseeing everything if he has to be paying such close attention to Superman. And so far, he is the only person who has been hired. James Mangold said, hey, I like Swamp Thing, but he's not been hired. James Gunn is the only talent outside of the writer's room that has been hired so far. And he has a sketchy echo chamber for a writer's room. Right? He just hired a bunch of his friends who are like, great idea, James. I don't want to call everybody Jimmy, but he also fits the Jimmy mold, to be honest. Although he doesn't deliver Jimmy Cameron's level box office. He did, though, once. He did, and the second Guardians did pretty well. But, let's see. Tom King and Christina Hodson, of course, make us all very nervous as members of the writer's room. We're like, are you serious? Why on earth would you hire either of those people for the writer's room? It's a little bit like how Kevin Feige won't get rid of the Rick and Morty people. You're like, I'm looking at the problem, and they're right there. How are they still here? How are they getting promoted? And we're all really shocked. Cool Guy says, Grace, if you could recommend a single DC character for him to write and direct, which one? I think he'd do a great Lobo movie with Jason Momoa. I don't know if anybody would want to watch it, but I think he could do it. I think because he clearly seems to like DC so much, maybe he would be good at the oversight. But I think that James Gunn, especially but with Superman, he would be, I think, constricted to PG-13. So maybe it would work out. But I mean, is it just going to be Star-Lord wearing red and blue? James Gunn has only had one voice to date, and he has not shown any ability to really differ from that. So I'm just, Animal Man's not a bad idea. Booster Gold. If you wanted to write a Mr. Terrific thing, I maybe would be open to it. Why we've all been like, why don't you call up Craig Mazin, who's doing The Last of Us for HBO? That guy should be running DC, quite frankly. Passive aggressive. We were just talking about the Penguin show the other day, man. Sky Magnumus says, should Denis Villeneuve, Catherine Bigelow, Steven Spielberg, Shaka King, blah, 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 Paul King direct? Or should they find new talent? You can't get new talent to direct such an important picture. I don't know if any of those people would do it, quite frankly. You have to, it's a very specific, hard thing to do. And there's no point in thinking about it because James Gunn already hired himself. So it's done. So let's see here. So when were they maybe going to announce it, right? Well, they didn't announce it today. They had an opportunity to be like, you got me. But I think James Gunn knows that the optics on it are not great. So he has a couple of choices. He could announce it with casting. Hey, Mr. Andrews. He could be like, look how good this casting is. You can't be upset that I'm directing it because look at the good people I've cast already. So that's an option. He could soften the blow that way, right? And then also he wouldn't be the only guy still standing up there anymore. That's the real problem. He can't keep being the only person standing up there. He's got to get other people. Like, where's Peter Safran? Peter Safran doesn't even want to stand up there next to him, and he is currently hired. So he's got to get other people up there with him. Now, some people guess that maybe James Gunn was waiting to announce this at Comic-Con in 2023, in July. That's not a bad idea. And then, because, he doesn't start filming until 2024, so he could wait until that time. It'd be a little late, but he could wait until that time. And then he would maybe announce a couple of directors. And then it would be long. It wouldn't just be him. Again, the main thing here is it can't just be him up there. He's got to get some other people standing next to him. And then you'd be like, oh, well, that's cool he's doing that because I'm also excited about who's directing the Batman movie and this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Paul, you're right. It does feel like a one-man show right now. Joey says, why aren't the studios making movies out of great scripts they discover instead of hiring writers just to write? Well, it's, when you're hey, Tom, thanks for gifting some memberships. Sky Magnanimous, thanks for joining. But I think that when you're building a universe, you have to come up with ideas. So anyway, let me just say that, a spoonful of sugar to make the medicine go down. And there was one tweet that somebody put out that I thought was great, so I wanted to include it. This is from Lev Cleason. And Lev Cleason said, James Gunn's only job is to fully and finally put the Snyder Universe into the ground, with Gunn leveraging his nerd cred to help that medicine go down. Beyond that, Gunn is just grabbing as many paychecks as he can for himself and for his wife, as long as he lasts in the position. And hey, Sonny, thanks for gifting a membership. I thought that was pretty solid, a pretty solid comment. A wee bit pessimistic, but not necessarily untrue. And again, I don't really know if you can blame James Gunn for that. It's like he's in a machine, the money machine where the money just starts being blown around, James Gunn's just, and maybe it'll be good. Maybe Superman will be good and he can stick around. But if it's not, he still made millions and millions of dollars off of it. So yeah, and I think that it's true. Nobody, who could kill the Snyderverse? Somebody who promised to replace it with something that was just as fan-friendly. But if it's not as good, hey Turlo, if it's not as good, then people won't be as sad when this maybe goes away. So let's see. Let's see what happens. Nicholas also gifted one membership. And Darth Nate says, have you seen the video of him and Jenna Fish? I did see that. That was pretty bad. All right, so that's the first story of the day. Before we go on to the next two stories, does anybody have any questions about this specifically? Blick says, do you think they could bring John to the picture to have Damian and John Kent? I would love that. I love the Super Sons. I think that would be really wonderful. Slomo says, in the discussion of money, we're leaving out how passionate James Gunn is about DC. I think that's true, Slomo, but sometimes when you love something so much yourself, thanks, Matt, I will end the poll. When you love something so much yourself as a fan, do you have enough distance from it? Like, James Gunn is creating the DC universe that he would like, and I'm sure there are other fans who would also like it. But what about the mainstream? And also, Feige's no longer untouchable. So the whole world's crumbling before our eyes. So the poll says 44% are like me, open to it. 34% think it's a bad idea. 11% say heck no, and only 9% love it. Yeah, I think when you realize that he's given himself paychecks, I think it makes it a little bit worse. He really needs to get some other people up there with him. And again, to be clear, I think there is a chance he could actually deliver, but he'd have to just fundamentally change who he was at a DNA level. Philippe says, you'd think Gunn would learn from Patty Jenkins. That's true. Patty Jenkins, talk about ruining your own career. I like how some of you are like, I am mainstream. Are you 4-quadrant? You got to be 4-quadrant, man. David Monzon says, I believe he will end up saying this was part of his initial deal with Zaslav. Well, it's true. He was approached to do a Superman movie, but he doesn't have to do it just because it was approached. He's not like, it was owed to me. I mean, as the head of DC Studios, he's supposed to make the decisions that are best for the properties. And I don't know if he's necessarily doing that. I think James Gunn is making the best choices for James Gunn. And, I don't know if you can necessarily fault that. You have to, with great power comes great responsibility, and you have to understand the person you've hired. I don't think any of us are shocked at all. Jay Altman says, we need that Richard Donner vibe back. That's an interesting point. Mr. Andrew says, what or who does Gunn need to succeed? He needs a Superman movie that it can at least match the Batman. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't even have to make $1 billion. If James Gunn can deliver a Superman movie that is well received by critics, fans, and makes about $700 to $800 million at the box office, I think that's a good shape. Nelfinity says, part of the magic of the DCU is the different tones. I hate to say it, but I'm just not seeing that here. That's a great point, Nelfinity. Thank you, Mateo. Mish, I'm not sure who I would cast as James Gunn's Superman because, I don't know what the script is like. I don't know what he's looking for. They could go with someone who's a total unknown. Jason Acker says, I saw Man of Steel recently after a long time away from the film, and it was great. I couldn't help think that's Superman. I don't know. To me, I know a lot of people really liked Henry Cavill's Superman, but to me, he was always evil Superman. I never felt he was Superman. Superman, to me, has a very middle America, all-American feel. And I just don't think anyone has captured that quite as well as, Christopher Reeve. Steven says, Patty tried to revive the Donner aesthetic with Wonder Woman 1984. Well, yeah, you can't be too, in a time warp either. I do think that some of the things that Peter Safran and James Gunn have said about exploring with their Superman script have been interesting. And this is certainly a very different world today. So, I mean, again, I'm open to it, but I think it's iffy enough that I wouldn't bet my own money on it, but I'm I don't think it's impossible that this could be pulled off. Mateo says, how do you think Gunn will pivot if this movie bombs? There is no pivoting, Mateo, because he owned it. And that's it. That's another thing. Something to know about in Hollywood. Okay, we did end the poll, Jake. Something to know about in Hollywood, which is very important, is that there's something to be said for spreading out the blame, right? So, it's not all on you. And this is also something that some actors will do as they're coming up. They don't take the lead roles, they take supporting roles. So if the movie bombs, they're like, wasn't my fault. Like Tobey Maguire, he was in a lot of supporting stuff before he got Spider-Man. So even though he was in a lot of movies that didn't do particularly well, he was getting good reviews. And so that was a very good way to build his career. Now, the reason that Patty Jenkins had to have such a problem with Wonder Woman 1984 is that she just wouldn't shut up about how she shut everybody else down, and this was all her. And she was like, I fired everybody who didn't agree with me. And even Warner Brothers was nervous about what I decided to do, and I told them I knew what I was doing. And then we all saw it, and we were like, you don't know what you're doing. So that's really bad. So I think that if James Gunn had written this movie and then handed it off to someone else to direct, even if it didn't do well, people would not maybe put it all on him. But he is making it all, the buck stops with him, and he'll have no one to pass it off to if the film does not do well. says, need the science with the Boy Scout. That's true. But, you can't be too weird. Superman is a real salt-of-the-earth character. Hey, Margie M., whenever you talk Disney, I love whenever you talk Disney Marvel. Thanks, Margie. That's a great picture of you. We're going to talk about them in just a moment. But let's see. Fortis One says, to be fair, Gunn is yet to make a failure. Are you kidding me? Did you not see the Suicide Squad totally implode? I mean, that was not a successful film. It did not have a good audience score. It didn't have, I will say that James Gunn has had tremendous support from the critic community, and he does have a very vocal fan base online, which make him sometimes seem untouchable. But you can't affect the box office. And I think that, I think making all this money and giving himself the only jobs is a little bit of an issue. So let's see. You have to really control this narrative. And I think, well, I mean, I think that, as I've said before, when James Gunn had his scandal, I felt the way that he bounced back from that was impressive. So, and I mean, like, I thought there was no way that he could ever get past that. And he did. So let's see, let's just see what happens. And I think that the Jennifer Holland stuff, James Gunn's wife, let's just say she is in a couple more end credit scenes coming up. So I would have cut those just because, he doesn't need that drama. And for just a few seconds, I just don't think he needs it. And I don't know if she's really helping herself either. I think that they should really be running a PR offensive at this point. And that's what they should all be focusing on. A marathon, not a sprint, quite frankly. All right, hold on. So that's the first story of the day. Second story of the day. This is a good one. All right, so hold on. Story number 2. Boop. Oh, Bob Iger was throwing down some business. But Daddy Iger means business. So Bob Iger yesterday was speaking at a Morgan Stanley conference, and he was like, don't worry, I'm going to whip Disney into shape. And if I have to fire people, I will. That's basically what he said. It was scary stuff. Bob Iger's on a warpath. He's just got a 2-year term, and he's going to whip this company into shape because, as I said earlier in this very stream, I've never seen Disney in such bad shape. Bob Chapek, who Bob Iger did pick, Bob Chapek has, I think, done more damage to Disney than we even suspected. When you go to investigate a problem with a structure and you peel back, you're like, oh, it doesn't look that bad. And then you peel back the top and you're like, oh my God, it's rotted to the very core. That's kind of like what we're dealing with here. I'm just shocked at the level of what's going to have to be taken care of. All right, so he was talking at this Morgan Stanley conference, and he made some comments about Marvel, Star Wars, and Disney. And let's start with the Marvel comments. So with Marvel, so there's the thing. Back in the day, during Marvel's heyday, Bob Iger never would have said anything about what he thought Marvel should do creatively. He'd be like, Kevin Feige knows what he's doing. I'm just going to leave it to him. But the fact that Bob Iger is starting to say what he thinks should happen in Marvel is very scary. I'd be like, oh, what? You have points and ideas? Oh, my goodness. So what Bob Iger said was he was like, we've had some success with sequels with characters, but maybe these characters don't need 3 or 4 movies. That's a real clear shot at Ant-Man, being like, why did we make Ant-Man 3? That's right, Desnizra. That's a great use of that emoji. That's exactly how it's going over there. But yeah, he's like, why did we make Ant-Man 3? And everyone in the audience is like, we told you not to make Ant-Man 3. We told you so long ago. And I don't know about Thor. I would have made Thor 4 after Thor 3, quite frankly, because I feel they finally got that character figured out. It's just they gave Taika Waititi too much creative freedom. That's what's wrong. I don't think making a 4th Thor was the problem, especially because they had 2 such great storylines, which should have been separate movies, and that's Jane Foster and Gore the God Butcher. They never should have allowed them to put them into one film. So they let Taika Waititi go off and make a 4-hour movie that when you whittled it down to 2 hours, it was horrible. I didn't even think it was horrible. I thought Thor 4 had its moments, but, from a business perspective, it was a disaster for the company. Not as bad as Quantumania, though. All right, so anyway, Bob Iger said, we got so many characters, let's just move on to the next one. And I agree with somebody already said it. I saw it in the comments. I think that's a mistake. I do not just keep moving on to more and more characters. We already have too long a waiting list. The bench is so deep, and people are waiting so long to get movies that I don't think this is the way to go either. I mean, look how long it took to get a Black Widow movie. I'll tell you, too long. Kung Fu Barbie, I love your picture. Way to keep the branding. So anyway, yeah, so I think that it's really a bad idea. I think that they should focus on just a few characters at a time and give them the full treatment. Explore them in depth on the Disney Plus, then put them in the movies for big action sequences. They're so crowded, we've not been able to do Secret Invasion properly, quite frankly. They're so crowded that they're introducing characters and they're taking up time introducing Young Avengers, but yet they have no timetable on when to actually do anything with them as a team. I think it's a mistake. I would dial back on characters and say, it's a little bit like what's happening over at Sony with their Spider-Man characters. Remember, someone made a joke. One of you made a joke. I forgot who did it. But someone said, oh, so Sony, you own 7,000 characters. What are you going to make movies for? And and Sony's answer is just like, yes. And you're like, don't make 7,000 movies. Just because you have a character doesn't mean that there's any interest in them getting their own story. I don't think this is the way to go. Jake says the MCU is so big that it's like a massive bureaucracy. Once they realize there's a problem, you've got a big delay in time needed to change them to move. It's like the Titanic. First of all, is that J.R. Ewing as your picture? But yeah, that's true. They can't course correct. But even once they've seen the iceberg. Let's see here. That's a good point. Who said that? Shahar says, what about Kate Bishop or Moon Knight? Well, I told you Moon Knight's most likely going to be an Avenger, as is She-Hulk. But who knows when we're going to see Kate Bishop again? It's ridiculous. It Will Be Okay says, but this is the house that Iger built. That's right, but I think it's, once he left, it kind of got out of control. Charlie Alex says, hey Grace, can't stop thinking about your Mando Jim Henson comparison. Wouldn't it be great if Disney had them make premium? That's off topic, Charlie. Chili Brat says, Iger's idea is just as bad. There's already too many characters and audiences who won't fall in love with any of them. Agreed. But Devin says, I agree with the sentiments of Bob, but think that every movie going forward should be an Avengers team using established characters. That's a good idea. Disney Plus is where you do the character exploration and then you focus a little bit more on, Avengers movies for the big team ups. And Tina of Dio says, where the heck are the X-Men? As I've said many times at this point, I'm fine with waiting for the X-Men if they can steer clear of this mess. Although I think Deadpool 3 is going to be really good. That's because, the characters that are doing well are Tom Hiddleston's Loki and Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. And that's because both of those guys are kind of stewards of their characters, protectors of them, because their careers are so wrapped up in them. And that's why I think those characters are okay. Alexander Wilson says, from the transcript, it sounds like the new characters that he was referring to are X-Men. Well, that would be nice, maybe. I don't know. And AG680 says, hey, Grace, is it true that Disney is selling Hulu for Hulk? No, that's not. That was just an idea that a Wall Street analyst had. That has not been suggested by anybody. Yeah, that's right. Everybody's like, but what about Wanda? That's right. Who knows when we're getting more Wanda? I'll tell you, it's probably going to be like 2026, man, or later. Let's see here. Jason says, I'd rather have Kate Bishop, I think you mean, on the Avengers team rather than She-Hulk. I don't know. Don't judge She-Hulk too harshly by her show. I think Tatiana Maslany is really good as that character, and I want to see She-Hulk continue to go forward. Let me finish my comments, and then I'll go back to your questions. All right, so anyway, so that's what Bob Iger said about Marvel. Then about Star Wars, Bob Iger said, well, first of all, it was announced on Wednesday that Kevin Feige's Star Wars has been shelved, that Michael Waldron was writing, that Rick and Morty writer, who did Multiverse of Madness, did Loki, but then really did a horrible job with Multiverse of Madness. And I think probably they were like, you don't need to make a Star Wars movie, Kevin Feige. Focus on Marvel, because your house is imploding, man. So I think that's why that probably happened. All the movies are basically shelved. They were like, Taika Waititi wants to star in his. And you're like, of course he does. But, I don't think they're necessarily moving forward with that. It was actually a very vague report from Variety. And I think that we'll get answers at Star Wars Celebration in April. The Lucasfilm presentation is actually on Friday, April 7th. So we should get some stuff there. And Bob Iger said that, we rushed out movies. I think we made too many. And you're like, yeah, that was you, Bob Iger. But yeah, at least he recognizes it. And he said that going forward, they're going to be really careful in the movies that they greenlight for Star Wars. So we're like, okay, let's see what you come up with. And then also he talked about Disney making trips to Disney World more affordable. And I'm really happy that he talked about that, because Disney's supposed to be the happiest place on earth and very accessible. And I think that there's really been a feel of classism in the parks. Many of you have written me about that. When you go to the parks these days, people are made to feel like there's a class system in the Magic Kingdom. And that's sad. That should never be the case. So I hope that he actually does fix that. And then I think really Bob Iger's really Mr. Accountability. As I said, he's embroidered it on a pillow and put it in his office. Next, he's going to put it on a sweatshirt and sweater and wear it around the campus. But, there's no accountability. There was no accountability at Star Wars for a long time, and there's been no accountability at Marvel lately. I think all of us are shocked, just like we can't believe that Tom King and Christina Hodson are in DC Studios' writer's room. Why on earth are Michael Waldron and Jeff Loveness still writing the next 2 Avengers movies? How is that happening? Every day that they don't get fired, or Disney doesn't go in a different direction, is, I think, another march towards doom for the Marvel brand. I'm very nervous, and it's killing the whole brand. Let's see. All right, you have any questions about this? Let me answer your questions on this. Bojack says, do you think politics really hurt Disney and Marvel? I sure do. I think politics have really hurt them. Talon says, hey Grace, happy Friday. This stream is so exciting. Oh, yay! Do you think in 10 years someone will make a movie of all this Disney drama, saving Mr. Iger? Yes, Waking Sleeping Beauty is a wonderful documentary about how they resurrected the animation department. So maybe they will. Maybe they will. Maybe Disney will make it itself, just like they did with Waking Sleeping Beauty. Joey says, Marvel Studios has become bloated and lost sight of the quality of the scripts and special effects. Iron Man 1 should be the minimal baseline of quality for every regular film release in the chamber? You're mixing metaphors there, man. But I like what you're saying, Joey. I like what you're saying. I didn't even like the third act of the first Iron Man. I was like, when Jeff Bridges became the Ironmonger, I was like, don't care. Travis says, Gracie, I think the Fantastic Four is setting up to be the linchpin of the MCU. So important to cast the right folks and hire the right writer. I think they already have a writer and they have a director, and I really hope they cast some good people. I hope it's not too CW-y. Jason Acker says the Loki showrunner should get more credit because she probably, right? That Kate Herron, I wish she hadn't walked away. I wish she hadn't walked away, especially because we need more female success stories in this space. Let me see here. I got more comments here. Let's see here. Bass Creek's Child, hey, says Marvel's problem is its assembly line filmmaking. It's causing script problems and VFX worker problems. They should do 2 films, 2 shows a year. And I think that's what they're moving towards. But they're right now at 2 shows, 3 movies a year. But yeah, I think that would be ideal. Christopher, thank you. That's very generous. Keith says, before Marvel's Rick and Morty writers phase, where did Marvel get their writers? They were kind of all over the place. They had a couple comic book people, actually, who worked on some animation, too. They need better people. 80s Model, thank you for gifting some more memberships. Amparo says, Disneyland is super expensive. We went for Christmas, and for 2 people, it was about $500 a day for 2 park hopper tickets. Yeah, it's very expensive, especially because for some rides, if you don't want to wait 3 hours, you got to pay for that ride in particular. I think like $20 a person. That's extremely expensive. Alexander Wilson says, Iger said that they were going to raise prices again for Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN. He said the recent price change didn't create significant churn. Uh-oh. Well, that's a real smack in the face. Your loyalty means I can raise the price even more. That's horrible. Well, they're going to reach a breaking point at some point, and you can't lower the price without it being embarrassing, so I don't know how that's going to work out. Devin says, do you think the horror corner of Marvel will still be explored? I don't know. Let's see here. Let me see if I have any other ones. Heidi agrees with me that She-Hulk was awesome. And then Geek Legion of Doom says, how worried is Kevin Feige right now? I don't think he's like super nervous, but I think he's probably a little nervous. I would say that Kevin Feige's no longer invulnerable. It used to be like that you would never think anything would ever happen to Kevin Feige. But, the more flops he has, the more he just seems like another regular executive. And that's bad. Before, he was like a god, a Hollywood god who could do no wrong. And that was true. But now he just seems mortal. His Achilles heel is his love, apparently, of Rick and Morty. I'm like, just watch the show in your off time. Stop hiring these people. And Kevin Feige's unwilling. He fires people, though, over creative differences. Alexander Wilson says, Disney needs to make money in their streaming department. It's still in the red. It is still in the red. I heard a rumor that they might have closed down their UK office, in fact. Vanderson Valley says, do you think, rumor. Vanderson Valley says, do you think Kevin will rehire the Russo brothers? Let's see how bad things get. He doesn't have a Secret Wars director just yet. Maybe I would rehire them, actually. But I don't know. Some of the Russo brothers movies have been so bad. Did you see The Gray Man? Oh, maybe they lost their touch. Jason Acker says, Johnny Fabs was heavily involved in Marvel's direction early on. Might he have something to do with the quality back then? That's what I said. Remember my recent report? I was like, hire back Johnny Fabs. Who fixed Star Wars? Johnny Fabs. I would be calling him up. I said if I was Kevin Feige, I'd call him myself. I'd be like, I wouldn't wait for Bob Iger to call him. I'd say it was my idea. I called him. Jake Van Doren says, at this point, let's just make it the SWCU, Wanda's Scarlet Witch cinematic universe. Wanda's Marvel's current advantage, and they're sidelining her for too long. Yeah, I really hope you guys like Billy, because they're really putting a lot on Billy. Hey, CF Williams. I think that they're, I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything. I think some of the choices are a little bit, I'm nervous. Let's see here. Josh says, the green screen used for every single movie is really off-putting. Watching Batman the other night, and it's so refreshing to see real-world locations, or at least sound stages. As a huge MCU fan, I feel the magic is diminishing. You know, it's funny you say that, Josh, because that reminds me of how Star Wars also suffered from being too green screeny with the prequels, right? Remember that? People were like, this is ridiculous. So I think that there's some issue with that as well. All right, so that's the second story of the day. And let's see, right now Bob Iger's all talk. Right now he's still all talk. But I have to say, we're seeing things that we never thought we would see. I never would have thought we would see a Marvel movie like Quantumania perform as poorly as it is. So it's a whole new world. It's a real whole new world. Zeke says to do a poll. We're moving on to the next story, though. So we'll do a poll about the next story. Okay, hold on. So, boom, baby. Here's a poll. Start a poll. Are you interested in Beetlejuice 2? There you go. Yeah, yes. Then with Jenna Ortega, I am. And then we'll do need to see a trailer. And then we'll do nope, not at all. I got some tea for you. I got tea for you. All right, tea time. All right, here it is. First off, you know who else was in talks for this but was too busy, who I actually think was a much better choice? Sadie Sink from Stranger Things. I think she would have been, Michael Keaton is back. And this is the role to play Lydia's daughter, aka Winona Ryder. And I thought Sadie Sink would have been a much better choice. Because I got to tell you, I think that as much as I like Jenna Ortega, I think this is too similar to the Wednesday Addams role. So I think Sadie Sink would have been a fantastic choice. But she was too busy. She was too busy. And I think, I've also heard that Jenna Ortega is very busy and is not totally signed on yet. That's why the other day I said she was only in talks. And then the story, another scooper talked about it yesterday, and then all the trades jumped on it. But the deal isn't signed. So it could still maybe not happen. It's just something that's being in discussion. But yeah, Sadie Sink's too busy with Stranger Things 5 and some other project, so she couldn't do it. I would have waited for Sadie Sink to become available. That's how good a choice I think she was. But they didn't do it. And then also, I'll tell you something else. Somebody talked about the fact that there is a ghost of an aging movie star or an actor in Beetlejuice 2. And I can tell you that that's Jean-Claude Van Damme. Or at least he wants the role. So that's funny. That would be very interesting for him to do that. But yeah, I don't know if Winona Ryder is back for sure, but I do know that Michael Keaton is back. So I think that, I do think that this speaks to the very strong popularity of Jenna Ortega right now. And she's been making a lot of comments about her experience on the Wednesday show. Very aggressive comments. I think she's actually hurting the show a little bit, but if some of those things are true, well, then I'm glad she's speaking her truth. And I'm sorry that she had a difficult experience. But it would be great if Gina Davis was back, but I don't think they can bring back Alec Baldwin. You want to see like a really early Alec Baldwin, go watch the original Beetlejuice. Such a good movie. Kate Gay says, I know a lot of people are not in agreement to the sequel for Beetlejuice, but I'm open to it. I would only be okay with it if Michael Keaton was in it, and he is, so I'm okay with it. And Winona Ryder should be in it as well. But anyway, speaking of people speaking their truths, I'm glad that Grace Van Dien from Stranger Things also recently talked about some of the horrible experiences she's had, and it's sad to see that despite all the Me Too stuff that was done, that this stuff is still happening to people to this day. It's really, I think, and I also think Grace Van Dien handled it extremely well. She didn't name names, but she did talk about an unfortunate situation that she had to deal with, and I think she handled it the best way that she could. And also, I think that Jenna Ortega is, yes, as Poke pointed out, Jenna Ortega is hosting Saturday Night Live on this Saturday evening, so that's exciting. And also, I think Scream 6 is going to be big for her. So I think we're going to be looking at a good box office weekend. So Jenna Ortega is in a good spot, even if, she kind of does ding Wednesday a little bit with some of her comments. So yes, I hinted the other day that she was in talks for this role, and I couldn't say it out loud. And some of you might be like, why didn't you just say that she was? I mean, I pretty much did. Like, I'd say 80% of you guessed correctly what I was talking about. But here's the issue. Sometimes a source will come to me and say, well, let me give you this information. However, not very many people know it. So if you were to tell people the information, they'd have a pretty good idea who leaked it. So I have to be very careful about how I say it. So especially if I just blatantly said it, it would be very big and potentially get a lot. Sometimes things that I say blow up pretty big. And I don't ever want to see anybody get in trouble for a scoop. It's just not worth it. So that's why I only hinted at it. And I actually hinted at it a few days, actually I think a week after I'd even heard it, because I felt enough time had passed that the circle of people who'd heard about it at that point had probably widened to a point that it was okay. But that's just a little bit about the scoop game. My dough, yes, Scream 7, I believe, has been greenlit. And considering how quickly they turned this one around and how well it turned out, that's pretty neat. So I'm not upset about that at all. But yes, I think it's funny that Jenna Ortega is really running through these people so fast. First she did Christina Ricci. Now she might be doing Winona Ryder. Aubrey Plaza better watch her back or she's going to be doing Aubrey Plaza's work. Although Aubrey Plaza, I just earlier today saw an interview with Jenna Ortega saying that it was Aubrey Plaza's idea for them to do that bit. And that really made me think even more of Aubrey Plaza, that she's so smart, that she's not only a very good comedian, but that she's a good businesswoman. I was like, wow, that's awesome. Hey, Zachy. So then Tim Burton is going to direct. It's interesting to me, Tim Burton got the directing credit for Wednesday, but I've heard a number of people in the industry think that maybe Tim Burton really didn't direct Wednesday and just kind of put his name on it and help them in the editing room. Because when you do look at Wednesday, I'll close the poll in a minute. When you do look at the Wednesday show, it doesn't really seem at all like it's directed by Tim Burton. So I think that made sense to me. So the theory is that Tim Burton puts his name on it, it gets that credibility, and he comes in there and helps out in the editing bay, even though he didn't actually maybe film that much stuff. Or maybe he did some reshoots, but I thought that was an interesting theory. So we'll see what happens, but I think that Sadie Sink was a better choice. And I think that this kind of cannibalizes the Wednesday show, but maybe Jenna Ortega doesn't want to come back to that, considering how bad a time she seems to have had on that. All right, so I just closed the poll. 26% of you need to see a trailer, but 25% of you aren't interested at all. That's fascinating. 25%, though, are also excited just because Jenna Ortega is in it. And 22%, oh, look, that's like basically 25, 25, 25. That's interesting. That's very interesting. I'm trying to do a Scream 6 spoiler review for tomorrow. I talked to Paramount, and they were cool with me putting it up there as long as I was didn't put any spoilers in the headline and stuff. So I'm really trying to get it up tomorrow, a spoiler review. I'm really messed up my schedule for this week. There's nothing that I can do but try to just kind of recover as the next week comes up. All right, so those are the 3 stories of the day. Let's go to the Q&A section. Hold on. All right, Q&A time. Woohoo! You can ask me anything you'd like for 10 minutes. It's 2:54. So you can ask me anything you'd like until 3:04, and then I got to go edit my my 65, or else I went yesterday for nothing. Let's see here. Dan Blaster, I've not seen Beetlejuice on Broadway because to me Beetlejuice is Michael Keaton, so I don't really. Although I heard that Roger Bart is really good as Doc Brown in Back to the Future, so maybe it can be done. Buck's Basement Grace, have you heard anything about Pokemon on Netflix? I did hear that they're very happy with some of the tests that they've done, and they're pretty excited. They think it looks really good. Devin Henderson says, how's box office looking for Scream 6? That 50 million number seems to be like a worldwide number. So I don't know if it's, let's see. It did very well at the box office last night. It did about what Creed did on its Thursday night. So potentially it could deliver a franchise best opening. not adjusted for inflation. But that's pretty exciting. It'll be interesting to compare it to Stallone, Nev Campbell pulling a Stallone. Dane says, Grace, what's up with the Secret Nomad movie? Is there any truth to it? I haven't heard anything about that, Dane. ES, I did not watch the last 2 Bad Batch episodes yet. I better check my screener thing. Sometimes they just secretly add those without telling us, so I better go check. Thanks for the reminder. Jason Acker says, Olive Branch, I love Tatiana in the role, but every episode with the bad joke boiling dudes down to the lowest common denominator. Hard to get on board with that. Not very 4-quadrant. I like your lingo there, Jason. Look at you're like doing variety speak. I think that it's true that some damage was done to the character, but I am so in favor of Tatiana Maslany in that role, and I like the character design so much that I feel She-Hulk can come back and come back easily with the right people behind her going forward. Eduardo, I've not been to any Taylor Swift concerts, but I thought it was funny how much she was involved in the latest episodes of You. But I hope she does come to Brazil so that you can see her. Mando's Ace says, do you think Halle Berry presenting the Oscar? Do you think that she's presenting the Oscar for Best Actress on Sunday? I don't know. That'd be kind of insulting. I'd be surprised if she would do that, considering all the actresses of color got shut out of the category. Well, Michelle Yeoh was in there, but the fact after what happened to Viola Davis and Danielle Deadwyler, it would be almost like they were using Halle Berry to cover that up, and I don't know if she'd want to be the face of that. So I hope she's not doing that. Let's see here. KK says, thank you for all that you do, Grace. You're amazing. Thanks, KK. That really means a lot. I always love seeing your sweet smile. You look very nice. Alexander Valentine says, Samara Weaving for Harley Quinn. I would love to see. I think she's a great choice. I think Anya Taylor-Joy is a great choice for Harley Quinn. Aubrey Plaza, she's too mean. She'd be a good Poison Ivy. Aubrey Plaza as like Harley Quinn series, animated series Poison Ivy is not bad, actually, now that I think about it. I just blew my mind. That's my choice. She'd be great. Hey, Ross. Ross says, you mentioned choices. Have you heard bad things about... 1 second. It skipped ahead. I got to go back. Hold on. You said you've heard bad things about Billy. He's such an important character for the LGBT community. Messing him up would really be my last straw with Disney. Well, I got to see the execution, Ross, but I think they're making some weird choices. I think they're making some weird choices in the way he becomes Billy. It is, to be fair, from the comic, but I think that it's tricky. I don't want to talk about it too much before it comes out. Rodney Dollar says, Grace, Oscars Sunday, Last of Us finale, and Little Mermaid. You have a lot to do. That's right. I'm going to edit I must have my Last of Us breakdown reviewed before Sunday hits, or I'm just going to lose my mind. Talon says, fun question. Best snack to bring for Scream 6? Whatever you like the best. Maybe popcorn, because it lasts throughout the movie. Business question. Do film studios do polls and focus groups to decide if a movie is worth making? That's interesting. They don't really. They will focus the crap out of a movie after they've made it, but they don't really take too much thought into whether or not they should, which is interesting. Big League Chew. I will be reviewing 65. That's a nice picture, too. I like when I can see you guys. I can kind of see you, Talon. I will be reviewing 65 right after this stream. Yap Dem. Gray Man was not good. I mean, maybe it had its moments, but I don't know. Dallin says, Grace, are you excited for any of the musical performances at the Oscars? I got to tell you, Dallin, I think Natu Natu should be really cool from RRR, but they really sucked all the interest of the Oscars out of that for me because I'm not going to be watching most of it because as soon as that Little Mermaid trailer drops, I'm done for the evening. I'll review the winners the next day, but I think dropping that trailer during the Oscars was the worst idea that they could have had. But they did it anyway, so that's fine. Slow-mo says, I'm so interested to see the reaction to Sebastian's look on Sunday. Yeah, let's see. Let's see what people are talking about. Flounder, Sebastian, Ursula. There's going to be a lot to chew on. That's why it's my primary focus of the evening. Anthony, I haven't heard anything about Secret Wars being pushed back that far. I think Hugh Jackman's like, I can't stay in shape for that long. Are you kidding me, man? Let's do this. Buck Spaceman says, Grace, how much of The Last of Us Part 2 do you know? And do you intend to find out more before Season 2 premieres whenever it does? It's even more controversial than Season 1. I know the broad strokes, and I certainly know the controversial elements. So, again, I think it's a double-edged sword. I think that on the one hand, it did very well. One of the things that's made The Last of Us so successful is that it is so faithful to the games, but people really hated the second game. So, someone pointed out to me, which I thought was brilliant the other day. So, do you stay faithful to something that people hated? Let's do a poll. All right, hold on. Start a poll. The Last of Us Part 2. Should it also be faithful? Yes. No, let's rewrite history. Yes, we'll do yes, it is what it is. There you go. Just two choices. Yes or no, baby. Shahar says, good vibes to Angela Bassett on Sunday. I gotta tell you, I don't think she's gonna win, and I'm sad about it. Hey, Julia. Yeah, Amparo, the Little Mermaid trailer drops during the Oscars. Hey, Jay, I might know what time the trailer is gonna drop that day, but I don't know just yet. Sockley says, have you seen Super Mario yet? No, not yet. Not yet. It's a little early for me to have seen Super Mario. I don't even think Universal will have press screenings until maybe about the week or so beforehand. Juan, I don't know if I'm going to review Yellow Jackets. It's getting kind of crowded and it's hard for me to, I was going to review Ted Lasso and I don't know if that's going to work out now just because, my timing has fallen apart. Lisa says, I don't know the ending of The Last of Us, so I can't vote. That's funny. I should have put that as one of the things. I should have said, I don't know what the ending is. That's funny. Hannah says, the ending for the first game was controversial. It's what they're supposed to be. I love part 2. It's the only thing I've ever just sat in complete silence as the credits rolled. That's high praise, Hannah. And Alex says it's a must they keep the story the same for a season 2. It's what pushes forward the hate it or love it. I don't know. There was a lot of hate. And CF Williams says, hey, Grace, do you think Marvel knows the main villain of the MCU, Kang, may be underwhelming for the multiverse saga? Kevin Feige may need to learn lessons and reset for the next saga. I don't know. Thanks, Juan Gabriel. I don't know. And is Kang underwhelming, or was Kang just underwhelming in Quantumania? Travis is not happy about the Angela Bassett potentially losing either. And that's right, Big Chew. That dude stole my ice cream. All right, let me see what the poll is. All right, so end poll. It's 303. The poll said that 55% of you want to keep it the way it is, but 44%, it's interesting. It's almost a 50-50 split. I don't envy Craig Mazin. Cole Jackson says, thank God I listened to you on Severance. Sometimes I disagree with you, but thank God I listened to you on that one. I'm glad, Cole. I'm glad you're on the Severance train. Welcome. Did I miss some super chats? Hold on. I don't think I did. Graham says, I'm getting a huge tattoo tomorrow. Oh, wow. What movie should I watch to distract me from the pain? Oh, that's funny. I wish Cocaine Bear was out. That would be the perfect tattoo. Then you might laugh. I don't know. What? Puss in Boots 2. It's on Peacock. It's a great movie. You can think of Little Perito to get you through it. Vanderson Valley says, unlike Stallone, at least Nev has a fan base in the horror community. I hope Paramount and her can strike a deal, as she is the nicest person I've met at horror conventions. Oh, that's nice, Vanderson Valley. That's very nice. No wonder she has I'm sure that's helped her hold on to her fan base. And Kyle Christoph says, hey, Grace, first live stream as a new member, and I'm excited to be here. Woohoo! Been watching you for years. I love this community and your work. That's great, Kyle. Welcome to the party. Thank you for pointing out that I missed some of these super chats. Do you think Quantumania's low numbers will actually lead to the writer getting the shaft for Avengers Kang Dynasty, says President Progressive? You would think, but as of right now, still on there. And Jason says, I agree completely. If they hired an entire new writer's room, I'm there, season 2, episode 1 with bells on. Are you talking about She-Hulk? And then Nico says, did you see the Chinese poster for Little Mermaid? I have not seen that. And how could she not be in it? I mean, what do they think is going to happen when Chinese audiences show up to the movie? And Antonio Garris has just finished The Mandalorian 2, starting season 3 tonight, and looking forward to your season 3 breakdown. Thank you. I'm very proud of how my breakdowns for that show are turning out. So I'm glad I'm a part of your Mandalorian experience. I'm glad some people are finally watching The Mandalorian, man. And then Vera says, hi, have you heard anything about Poker Face season 2? I have not, but it's done very well if you've seen the ratings. It's doing very well for Peacock. It's like, it's not doing great, but for Peacock, it's like a superstar. So I hope they bring it back for another round. I would certainly watch more of it. I loved it. I missed a lot. And iRhino says, the Marvels tea. Lots of behind-the-scenes drama being reported recently. I heard that too. I feel that Brie Larson is in a difficult position, and I don't want to dogpile on her. So let's just remain to see what happens. Because here's the thing. On the one hand, the people who are reporting it, and I'm hearing it, that it might be true. But on the other hand, how can it be true when Brie Larson has been she wants to do Alpha Force since the very beginning? I mean, Brie Larson just goes around saying how much she wants to spotlight other female superheroes. So is she really causing a problem? Like, it would just seem like night and day. So how can it be true? I guess is what I don't understand. Okay, I think I caught up. All right, let me turn off the. I don't know how to make this work. It says I can turn off the super chat, but I don't know how to do that. Okay, hold on. All right, so let me do a couple of quick ones, and then it's gots to go. We see gifted another 5 memberships. Thank you. Has been David says, true story to second game. Stay true to second game, but do new story in between. Oh, that's not a bad idea. But I don't know. I think people really want to see this part 2. Let's see here. Sohail says, hey, Grace. Hey, Sohail. I always watch your recaps and thank you for them. I wanted to share with you that I'm going to be a trainee lawyer soon. Oh, that's so cool. That's very exciting. Congratulations. Jason says, I literally just finished Last of Us 2 yesterday. It was a very big swing, but it was hard to play through. Very dark, and the loss of certain characters might not make people happy. Agreed. James Griffin says, great, what's the best site to track worldwide box office? The 2 best box office sites are Box Office Mojo and then the numbers. Box Office Mojo doesn't update as fast as it should. The numbers is a little bit more on top of things, but I think that Box Office Mojo is a little easier to read. So those are the 2 sites that I think are the best box office sites. Mish, I might be having some sushi tonight. Hey, Ryan K. Tina says, Grace, are you doing a live stream Oscar recap? Yes, on Monday. On Monday, the live stream will be all about the Oscars. That's what we're doing on Monday. Monday's very busy as well. Usually I take Monday to recover, but on Monday, I will be doing a live stream Oscars review, and then I will also have my John Wick review going up at 11 p.m. when the embargo lifts on Monday. I was going to rank the Last of Us episodes, but I'm going to wait to do that till later in the week because it's too busy already. I can only send out so many notifications on YouTube, so I'd just be like chucking content into a black hole. 80s Model says, Grace, I hope you have a great weekend. Always sending much love for you and the amazing. Thank you, 80s Model. You're such a wonderful member of this community. Very generous. Always appreciate your questions, so thank you for that. Cosmic says, I'm driving to LA tomorrow for the Oscars. I've all packed with my suit. I'm so scared but excited. Oh, are you going to be at the Oscars? I did something for Dolby one year, and I got to go backstage beforehand and see where you walk after you win your Oscar, and I got to see the stage from the seats. It was very cool. Be careful around there, though. It's a little bit of a dangerous neighborhood where the Oscars are held. Cole Jackson says, any tea on Shrek 5? I know they're making it, for sure. Jay King just made the stream. I'm sorry, we're wrapping up. I'm sorry. And Jake Fruia, that's a cool name, says, I'm worried about the intro of Billy as a replacement of Wanda, as they once tried to do that in the comics. Wanda having an edge and Billy being wholesome would be a nice balance and allow coexistence. Let's see. I think they couldn't have picked a better actor, so I feel good about that. Danielle says, Poker Face was renewed 2 to 3 weeks ago. Oh, that's great. I missed that headline. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you for that. Lou says Suicide Squad audience ratings, 82%. That doesn't count, Lou. You got to look at the cinema score. You can game the rating on Rotten Tomatoes for audience score. That does not count. The cinema score was not strong. Jay King says, just made the stream. Too lazy to cook properly today, so I'm making Purdue chicken nuggets. Those are my favorite nuggets from the store. They're fantastic. Good choice. I do love Purdue chicken nuggets. They're so tasty. I'm trying to eat less super processed foods because I read some disturbing articles about them, but I can't give up Purdue chicken nuggets. Sometimes I eat like a child, but I'm fine with it. I don't care. H. Tez says, happy Friday, everyone. Please hire staff so that you can watch the Super Bowl next year. No. I mean, I'm doing the reacting, and I really try and put a lot of care into my editing, so I'd have to double check it anyway, so it wouldn't matter. A long time ago, I did work with editors, but I'd have to overlook the work to such a degree that I was like, I should just do this myself. It Will Be Okay says, I am not a Brie fan, but she seems like a team player. Yeah, it does seem weird, right? And then Weesey says, been watching you for years, got my boyfriend to watch, want to share your insights with others. Thank you. How do your boyfriend, Weesey? Then Gavin says, hey, Grace, love your channel. Have you heard of Legion M, the fan-owned production company? And if so, what are your thoughts on it? I have not heard of it, so I cannot share thoughts on it, I'm afraid. And then Jay says, Grace, just want to say thank you for your videos and lives. Always have such an amazing time. Thank you, Jay. I love the lives with you guys. I love them. Part of me was like, can I do 3 this week? And then I was like, I promise 3 a week. And so I'm always glad when I do them because I have such a good time when I'm in it with you. Let's see here. No more, please, because I'm going to... Mom Ross says, will Gina Davis solo work in Beetlejuice? Yeah, she would. Who knows where that Alec Baldwin's ghost is? Celestial says 4 years and 4 months. That's right. You look what you've got the ruby. Thank you for being one of my favorite channels to watch. My pleasure. Fatina, I'm sorry that you have COVID, but I'm glad you're taking care of yourself. Let's see here. Anthony, I'm sorry to hear you're also having some health issues. Trisha says Disney needs to focus on its magic. It's one of the biggest companies in the world. They need to focus on quality, and I think Bob Iger will. I agree, Trisha. I feel Bob Iger will fix it. I think he's going to fix it. Elliot, the best chicken nuggets are from McDonald's, but if you want to make nuggets at home, Purdue is where it's at. Gorilla My Dream says, working on the first outline for a script. I got a grant to create a pitch for a TV show. Oh, that's so exciting. Congratulations. That's very cool. Alawatch says, here at the mall just to get a pretzel from Auntie Anne's. Oh my goodness, are you getting pretzel? Are you getting pepperoni or cinnamon sugar? The eternal question. They're both so good. I don't have any DC tea besides we just talked a lot about the James Gunn stuff. So that was some pretty good tea. I told you when they're filming. I told you the age range of the actors they're looking for. I can never decide between pepperoni or sugar, cinnamon sugar. It depends, I guess, if you want something sweeter or savory. Mark says, hi, Grace. My apartment got flooded in California, but I'm having a nice break from the chaos. That's horrible. Watch out for mold. Be very careful about that. Who was that? Alawatch? Alawatch. I gotta know what kind of pretzel you got, Alawatch. I'll log off after I find out what kind of pretzel you got. I must know. I'm living vicariously through you. I guess I have to get the pepperoni because I'm not eating cinnamon sugar right now. Pepperoni! Get a sweet soda from the machine, and that's a great time at the mall, boy. I'll watch. I live through you. Thanks, MJC. I appreciate that. I work very hard on my hair. I've got some really good shampoos, which I think have really helped it. Am I getting sequel and current franchise fatigue? No, I think that they're really important to the fandom. So I love franchises and sequels. I just need them to be good. And Mr. Andrew says, I'm happy to be back in this community after a year of absence. Greetings from Barcelona. You guys are the best. I'm sorry I couldn't do any shout outs, but I really got to get on this break on this review so that I can get out before the sushi store closes. Happy Friday, and I am going to be working tomorrow, so videos will go up. I'm trying to get the Scream 4 spoiler review should go up tomorrow, and then just a ton of content on Sunday and Monday. Okay, everybody. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye. Bye-bye.